Hi and welcome to this week's video and a question. Why are churches built on top of ancient monuments? A question that has come in from a viewer who watched the Ashbury video, a possible lost stone circle within the grounds of a local church. A question I didn't fully know the answer to, so one I was eager to look into. The construction of churches on top of ancient monuments can be attributed to the combination of historical, cultural and religious factors. Often, early Christian monasteries sought to integrate Christianity into local tradition by repurposing existing sacred sites, fostering a sense of cultural continuity. This symbolic transformation of the site from one religious tradition to another symbolised the triumph of Christianity over earlier beliefs. The reuse of materials was also a practical consideration, as it allowed builders to conserve resources by incorporating stones and elements from the original monument. Additionally, the location of ancient monuments played a big role, as churches were often constructed in prominent places to capitalise on visibility and significance, blending elements of different traditions to ease the transition to Christianity. The adaptation to local beliefs and practical considerations, such as access to water sources or strategic locations, further influenced the choice of sites for church construction. Christianity is believed to have arrived in Britain in the Roman period, likely during the 3rd century AD. The exact timing and circumstances of the introduction of Christianity to Britain are not precisely known, and historical records from this period are very limited. Traditionally, the story is associated with the figure of monk Augustine, who was sent by Pope Gregory I to convert the Anglo-Saxons in the late 6th century. In 597 AD, Augustine landed in Kent and played a crucial role in the spread of Christianity in southern England. Pope Gregory I, also known as Gregory the Great, was born around the year 540 and served as Pope from 590 to 604 AD. He played a significant role in the early medieval church. He is known for instituting the first recorded large-scale mission from Rome, the Gregorian mission, to convert the then largely pagan Anglo-Saxons to Christianity. It seems no one is sure why Gregory decided to take on this mission. There is a story recorded by Bede, an 8th century monk who wrote the history of the British Church, relates that Gregory saw fair-haired Anglo-Saxon slaves from Britain in the Roman slave market and was inspired to try to convert their people. Supposedly, Gregory inquired about the identity of these slaves and was told that they came from Britain. Pope Gregory was a prolific writer, and his letters are an important source of information about the history of the early medieval church. One of his most famous is the Book of Pastoral Rule that he wrote around the year 590, shortly after he became Pope. The book is a guide for the bishops and clergy on how to fulfill their responsibilities. It addresses the moral and spiritual obligation for those in positions of leadership within the Christian Church. The work is organised into 4 parts or books and covers topics such as qualifications of a good pastor, the importance of humanity and the duties of a pastor in caring for spiritual well-being of the congregation. Pope Gregory I emphasises the idea that the leadership requires both a deep understanding of Scripture and compassion, caring attitude towards the members of the Church. He discusses the challenges and virtues associated with leadership, encouraging leaders to be humble, compassionate and committed to the spiritual welfare of their flock. One of the well-known letters of Pope Gregory I is the one he wrote to an abbot in the year 601 AD. In the letter, Gregory gives instructions to the abbot, who was part of the group of missionaries sent to England. We know of the letter through Bede's written history, which was written in 731. The contents of the letter is the mission to convert the Anglo-Saxons to Christianity. The Roman Empire had withdrawn from Britain, and various tribes, including the Anglo-Saxons, had settled in the region. Gregory, who was keenly interested in the conversion of these people, sent a group of missionaries, including the monk Augustine of Canterbury, to England. In the letter to the abbot, Gregory provides guidance on how to deal with the pagan practices that the missionaries might encounter in England. He advises not to destroy the pagan temples, but to adapt them to Christian use. The idea was to replace pagan worship with Christian worship within the existing culture and religious framework. This approach is an example of Gregory's adaptability in spreading Christianity to different cultures. The letter to the abbot is often cited as an illustration of the accommodation approach taken by Gregory in missionary activities. There are many translations of the letter, but all agree in the substance. The one quoted here was first published by Dent in 1910. Gregory asked the bishops to tell Augustine, "What I have upon mature deliberation of the affair of the English, determined upon with the temples of the idols in those nations, ought not to be destroyed. Let holy water be made and sprinkled in the said temples. Let altars be erected and relics placed. For if these temples are well built, it is requisite that they be converted from the worship of the devils to the service of the true God, that the nation, seeing that the temples are not destroyed, may be more familiar resorted to the place to which they are accomplished." And this to me is quite a clever way to convert the people into a new religion. This all happened during an era we know as the Dark Ages. It's a historical label commonly applied to the period in Britain from the 5th century, marking the decline of the Western Roman Empire. After the Romans' withdrawal in the 5th century, the Anglo-Saxon migration and invasion shaped the region, leading to the establishment of various kingdoms. And this happened before the Viking raids, which started in the 8th century, and King Alfred the Great reigning in the 9th century. Despite the term the Dark Ages, contemporary scholarship recognises the complexity of this era, acknowledging the achievements of art, literature and governance amidst the challenge of political fragmentation and economic decline. It was also a time when little is recorded from Britain. Where these churches were built on top of monuments, it seems, were not recorded, which adds the difficulty of finding these lost monuments, and possibly due to folklore travelled through time is our best guess. In the Avebury area, it's quite common to see large sarsen stones at the base of churches, but I have read somewhere, and sorry to say I cannot remember where from, where we see sarsen stones at the base of churches, that this could be the case where the land is quite marshy in areas, and these stones were used in many buildings over time as footings for the churches, and not that of ancient monuments. Wooden churches were common in the early Christian period, especially in areas where stone was scarce or expensive. These early churches were often small and relatively simple in design. Over time, as Christianity spread and became more established, stone became a major popular and durable building material. Church of St Martin is the ancient church in Canterbury and is recognised as the oldest church building in Britain still in use as a church. St Martin started as a private chapel for Queen Bertha of Kent. Queen Bertha died in or after 601. Queen Bertha was a Christian Frankish princess who arrived in England with her chaplain. Her pagan husband, King Ethelbert of Kent, allowed her to continuing her practice in her religion by renovating a Roman British building 580 AD. Upon the arrival of the missionaries, St Martin's was used as their headquarters, and the once pagan king was soon baptised here. To add to these ancient sites, it's worth mentioning the presence of yew trees in churchyards, which have been a long-standing tradition steeped in symbolism and cultural significance. Yew trees have graced the grounds of churches across the world for centuries, and their association with sacred spaces raises intriguing questions about the role of these ancient trees in religion and cultural contexts. It's believed that pagans regarded the yew trees as sacred and planted it close to their temples and other places of worship. Early Christians often built their churches on these sites, and so the association of yew trees with churchyards began. In fact, the oldest yew tree in the UK is said to be the Fortingall yew in Perthshire. It is estimated to be around 2,000 and 3,000 years old, although some believe it could be as old as 5,000 years old. The presence of yew trees in churches is a testament to the deep-rooted symbolisation. As we navigate the intersection of nature, culture and spirituality, the yew tree stands as a silent guardian, linking the past with the present and offering a glimpse into the profound connection between humanity and the nature of the world. So the act of building churches on ancient monuments was a practical choice, but also a way to adapt to the culture of the communities being converted. Missionaries often recognised the importance of making Christianity relatable to the local population. By repurposing existing sacred spaces, they acknowledged the significance of pre-existing beliefs and practices, incorporating them into the evolving Christian narrative. This adaptation fostered a smoother transition for the community, allowing them to retain a sense of connection and their heritage while embracing the new faith. In some cases, the construction of churches on ancient sites served as a tangible expression of religious tolerance and coexistence, rather than eradicating or suppressing local beliefs. It demonstrated a willingness to coexist with and incorporate diverse spiritual tradition. This approach could have helped to mitigate potential conflicts and facilitate the peaceful coexistence of different religious communities in a given area. However, it's important to recognise that this practice wasn't universally embraced, and there was an instance where the construction of Christian structures led to the deliberate destruction of pagan sites. The motivation behind such actions were complex, often influenced by a combination of religious zeal and political power dynamics. The transition of the belief system was not as peaceful as we may think, and I will put a link in the description below to a video that goes into the spreading of the Christian faith in much more detail. In essence, churches being built on top of ancient monuments is a fascinating intersection of religion, cultural and historical dynamics, reflecting the complex process of cultural transformation, co-evolution of different belief systems over time. So the mystery still remains. We do know the churches were built on top of some ancient monuments, but with no written records, it looks like we will never know for sure how many ancient monuments lies underneath churches, or even where. I hope I have answered the question, and if anybody has anything to add, please leave a comment, as I'd love to hear. A really big thank you for asking this question. Not something I had looked deeply into before, so I'm glad to have the time to look into it. If you have any questions that you would like me to look into, please leave a comment below. Before I go, I would like to say a big thank you to the viewers and subscribers of the channel, to the Patreons and those who have bought me coffee. This channel wouldn't be the same without you. Your support has made it all worthwhile, and I'm grateful beyond words. So if you're new here, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Also click that notification bell so you'll never miss an update. Until the next time, stay safe.